even if he is already the ombudsman now, that case will continue because that appertains to his action as a lawyer. We are attacking his license as a lawyer.
It basically it's an active case kahit na po ombudsman na si
Yes.
Attorney Boying Remulla. Meron pong nakabimbing disbarment case laban kay dating Justice Secretary Boying Remulla dahil sa pag-aresto at pagsuko ng gobyerno kay FPRRD sa ICC. Ngayong ombudsman na si Remulla, ano na kaya ang mangyayari sa kasong ito? Makakausap natin ang complainant na si Attorney Israelito Torion. Attorney Torion, magandang gabi po sa inyo at maraming salamat sa oras.
Hi, magandang gabi po, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
So, first of all, nag-file nga ho kayo ng kaso laban kay Justice Secretary Boying Remulla then, na ngayon po ay ombudsman na. What will happen to that? Magiging moot ho ba yun?
No. It will remain pending before the Supreme Court. And as you know, I was not the one who filed it. I was acting as the lawyer of the complainant, who happened to be the family of the Duterte. And specifically, it was acting Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte, who is the private complainant in that case, or who is rather the complainant in that case. And even if he is already the ombudsman now, that case will continue because that appertains to his action as a lawyer. We are attacking his license as a lawyer. Yun
Opo.
po ang mangyayari po doon.
Ano ho yung, so it basically it's an active case kahit na po ombudsman na si
Yes.
Attorney Boying Remulla. For the benefit of the people watching, sabihin po natin, i-disbar siya. Sabihin po pumanig ang Korte Suprema dito sa petisyon ni Baste Duterte. What happens? How does that affect his role as ombudsman?
Well, if you will check Section 8 of Article 11 of the 1987 Constitution, one of the requirements is that he must be a member of the Philippine Bar and that he must have been in the practice of law for 10 years, no? So if he is no longer a lawyer, then that would disqualify him as an ombudsman. So if the Supreme Court would decide that his action would, or his actions rather in the past, I would not comment on the specifics of it because it is what you call this confidential in nature, but I'm just discussing the effects or consequence if he would be disbarred, then he would no longer qualify as an ombudsman because it is a continuing requirement. But what we will actually do, subject to the order of our client or request of our client, and supposedly tonight we have a meeting, but it was moved tomorrow. We will still question his appointment as an ombudsman. There is a quarrel as to whether or not it is a petition for quo warranto or certiorari. We will decide that by tomorrow, and we will definitely file that petition before the Supreme Court.
Ano ho yung basihan ng posibleng quo warranto o certiorari laban dito sa pagtalaga?
Quo warranto may not be the proper remedy to my mind. No? Of course, that is subject also to a discussion with my fellow lawyers who are handling the case. Because under Rule 66 of the Rules of Court, specifically Section 1 thereof, it mandates that it will be the Office of the Solicitor General who should file the same. Or if not, it would be under Section 5, the person who has a clear legal right of the position. But I don't expect anyone who was not appointed, which was included in the list, short list, there were 7. I don't think any of the 6 would be willing to file that petition for quo warranto. And I don't think that the Solicitor General likewise under Rule 66 would file that petition. So we have another option, and I believe that under Article 8, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution, a petition for certiorari may be appropriate in questioning his being shortlisted by the Judicial and Bar Council. So that would be maybe the tenor of the petition.
Ano ho ba para sa kaalaman natin ang petition for certiorari? At bakit ho ito posibleng?
Sa mga estudyante po ng batas, any branch of the government can be questioned under the expanded concept. Maski executive department yan, supposedly under Rule 65, judicial or quasi-judicial functions lang ang covered. Pero kung ibase mo dito under Article 8, Section 1, expanded na po yung konsepto po ng certiorari. So kung any branch, even the executive department of the government, would commit grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction, then it can be subjected to a certiorari proceeding under Article 8, Section 1. Pwede na yan i-question sa Supreme Court.
And who is going to be guilty of this grave abuse of discretion?
Well, the JBC, including the Ombudsman for issuing the, the clearance, even if we filed a complaint last September 15, and there was an order to undocket the case on September 16. Tapos si Acting Ombudsman Vargas perhaps realized that there was a May 5, 2025 memorandum order of then Ombudsman Martires ordering twin docketing of criminal administrative cases. On September 17, he issued a office order which provided for retroactive effect. Tapos 10 days lang, selective pang pagka-undocket kasi yung final ni Secretary Vince Dizon noong September 11 against DPWH officials at meron pang preventive suspension, hindi na undocket. Paano nangyari yun? Yung COA fraud report which was filed on September 7, hindi rin na-undocket. Yung sa amin lang yung in-undocket. So it was a clear abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction.
Pero
Ngayon
dalawa
lang yan.
po, Attorney Torion, two people, two groups. One would be the acting ombudsman, yung former acting ombudsman, and the
Yes.
JBC.
Yes, and the JBC for including him in the shortlist, even if we wrote a letter informing them that we already filed criminal administrative complaints against against Remulla.
Against then Justice Secretary Boying Remulla.
Yes.
So yung petition for certiorari, you plan to file this possibly tomorrow or maybe next week?
Depende po yan sa kliyente namin.
Okay.
Depende po sa kliyente namin. Siya kasi ang mag-decide niyan, hindi
And
po ako.
ang kliyente niyo po si Acting Mayor.
Acting Mayor Sebastian
Basta-
Duterte.
All right. So it will be up to him. So to be clear, Attorney, ito ho bang pag-file ng mga motion or kaso laban kay Ombudsman Boying Remulla, is it really to prevent him from being
No.
chosen as the
No,
Ombudsman?
consequence lang po yun. Offshoot lang po yun. Kasi yung pag-kidnap kay Tatay Digong, honestly, the next day noon may mga criminal cases na akong na-prepare, no? At saka admin case. Pero at that time, hindi pa po ready yung Duterte family to file criminal and admin cases, no? But one of them told me, just prepare and we'll just decide later on. So, nakahanging lang po yun. And then, lately, nag-decide na yung pamilya through Acting Mayor Sebastian Duterte na mag-file na. Kaya, final namin yung criminal and admin cases last September 15. And the option to file such criminal administrative cases as well as disbarment cases lies with the family because kidnapping cases has a long prescriptive period under Article 90 of the Revised Penal Code.
How long
Within
is
the
the-
20-year period, pwede nila i-file yan. Sa kanila
20?
kasi yun eh.
20, did you say 20-year period, prescriptive period?
20-year period kung grave offenses po yun.
Attorney, any reaction by the family, on behalf of the family, dito po sa pagtalaga kay Boying Remulla as Ombudsman?
Well, makikita naman doon sa interview ata ni VP Sara, hindi sila masaya. Oo, hindi sila masaya. Yun lang po.
And sa mga nagtanong po sa media, kay Ombudsman Boying Remulla, ano yung mga kailangan niyang unahin at least na tingnan dito sa mga binareklamo before the office of the Ombudsman? There were two that are being mentioned, sir. Care to react. One is the formally issue, and the other one is the confidential funds of Vice President Sara Duterte. Go ahead,
Pero ang
sir.
pagkasabi nga ma'am, yung SALN daw niya ang titingnan kaagad nung first interview niya. Later na lang yung formally. Yung first interview niya, titingnan daw yung yung SALN daw ni VP Sara. Sa kadami-dami naman natin ang problema, yung fund control issue, no? Na trilyones na yung problema natin, yung pang SALN ni VP Sara yung uunahin niya. Para may problema ata tayo dito. Yung sa formally, well, it may be a legitimate issue. He can go against it because we do not tolerate or condone corruption. If there is indeed corruption dun, imbestigahan niya. Pero sana maging fair siya because under the 1987 Constitution, he is supposedly the protector of the people, no? And he should investigate yung pinakagrabe po na nangyari po dito sa ating bansa. Yung yung flood control issue. Dapat doon siya tututok. Kasi yun talaga sana yung mandate niya. Protector siya ng people. Grabe yung nanggawa sa atin na kaguluhan at grabe yung sakit na nararanasan ng mga Pilipino dahil sa continuous na pagbaha. Sana maging fair siya because one of the requirements of an ombudsman is recognize probity and independence. So this is his golden chance to prove that he is in fact independent-minded and that he would go against corrupt people really, and not to make his office as an office of persecution and harassment against the political opponents.
Is there any concern that the office of the Ombudsman under Boying Remulla might not be fair, might not be neutral, or might be even be biased? Meron ho bang ganon? Meron ho bang concern?
Ako personally, pwede ako makasabi may concern kasi nangyari yan sa akin sa kaso doon ni Pastor Apollo Sitibuloy Kasi yung sa kaso ni Pastor, medyo masabi mo talaga na kasi na-dismiss na yung kaso, bigla na lang binuhay after nung investigation ni Senator Hontiveros. And pag more than 3 years na yung natutulog, yung petition pa nga defective pa nga, dapat ma-dismiss yun ordinarily, binuhay niya, and then in less than 1 week may warrant na si Pastor. Yung MR namin motion for reconsideration, hanggang ngayon hindi niya i-rule kasi sa tingin namin kung i-rule niya pwede na kami mag-certiorari doon sa sa Court of Appeals sa alleging grave abuse of discretion on his part. Hindi niya inaksyonan yun hanggang ngayon. So ako personally, I cannot speak for the Duterte family, pero yung yung kanyang action in the past, may concern ako.